Hi, we're back for another one. How are you guys doing? What is it? Tuesday? It's Tuesday, and we're back for another banger. We're giving you an update on the Trump trial, and he got today. Contempt is not okay, but it happened. Judge Mershon is like, hey, we're doing this. We're going to talk about it. I warn you, don't say anything. Don't say anything on Truth Social. Guess what? It happened. So we have quite a bit to talk about today, but I'm really thrilled to be back on here. I was going to make this a double feature, but I'm thinking of coming back later tonight to talk about Diddy for a little bit. And I don't know if we want to mix Diddy and Trump in one stream because that just may be too much. Firstly, let's see who we have in the chat and see who we have in the building. And then we will get started with today's content. Hope you guys are all doing well on this Tuesday. Look who we have. Nurse Janice was first. Nurse Janice has entered
One
the
of
chat.
our favorite people has entered the chat.
She's here. She's first. And it's 9:45 in the UK. It's 9:45 in the UK, so it's good to see you, Nurse Janice. Hope you are doing well and having a great start to your week. Hi, Tammy. Hey, C-Ad. Good to see you. He says, it works. Got notified before your show. Looking forward to more of your info. And guys, that is a common community thing we've been mentioning. Some of you guys have left comments and you're like, hey, when you go live, I don't get the notification. I don't know why YouTube is doing that. Without your consent, if you go to my page right now and click on the subscribe button, it will tell you what notifications you have. By default, I don't know why they do this. They change it to personalized. If you change it to all, you will be notified anytime I go live or drop a new video. So C-Ad, I'm glad that fix worked for you, and I'm hearing that it works for a few other people. Hi, Charlie. He says, did anyone get the opportunity to watch the videos of Biden's admittance to cheating and his evil schemes to keep Trump from re-election? Ooh, the plot thickens, Charlie. I have not seen that. If that video exists, people can check it out. But here's the other thing. Did you guys see the news earlier today? Apparently, we are going a little bit laxed on pot in the United States. The plot thickens.
Listen,
I mean, I don't know. A lot of people experiment with pot in high school and in college, but it looks like what we are looking at as a nation is, how do we treat marijuana in the United States as a whole? Of course, we leave some things to the states, but as you guys know, to the Supreme Court, there are some things that it can be something that we take a stance on nationally. So it is going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what's happening. So thank you so much, Charlie. And Charlie, I was reading some of these earlier. If you have left some information for us to check out, my team is processing those. We've got a lot going on, a lot of content. We're getting through lots of emails to process. We will get to it at some point, but thank you so much for sharing that for us. There's a lot going on, so we will get to it eventually. So thank you for sharing, Charlie. Shout out to Mary, who says, hi, AV in chat, BRB. We'll see you in a second. Hi, Carol. Carol's here as well. Carol says, hey, AV in chat. Good to see you, Carol. Sagalina says, present. Glad to be with you and our lovely host, AV7. Yeah. So there's a lot going on. I'm going to go to the first super of the night. We have WSP Capone the first. All right. It looks like E. Capone has changed his username. It's good to see you, E. Capone. Thank you so much for kicking us off. Hey, Lady Di, and all, guess what? I missed this. I watched it on replay. The last time I was live, Saturday night, just got back in from a flight to Boston. And I didn't realize it because someone asked me. I hardly look at the chat when I'm streaming. Apparently, it was Lady Di's birthday. If you guys can do me a favor, huge favor right now. She is always supporting this community. She's always here modding. She's taking time out of her busy day to be here. If you guys can type in happy birthday, Di, or happy belated, that would be fantastic. Happy belated birthday, Lady Di. I hope you had a great weekend with family and friends and really enjoyed your birthday. It should have been a good one. And look at that. We've got the happy birthdays coming in. So Di, I hope you had a great weekend. I'm so excited to see you here today. All right, guys. One more quick thing. I also, from last stream, want to give a huge, huge, huge shout out. And I'm dubbing this person the stream sponsor right now because I did not see it. Just got off of off of a plane on Saturday. My phone was dead. I want to give a huge shout out to Trey, who is this stream sponsor. He was involved in last stream and sent me a generous $125 on the Cash App because my phone was dead. I did not see it at the moment, but I am making sure that he is a stream sponsor now. So Trey, thank you so much. He's also new to the community and has been supporting. So I want to make sure, like, whenever that happens, if I miss something, guys, like, I will be back and make it right. Okay, that's just what's gonna happen. So look at all the love that we're getting for Lady Di. Wanted to make sure that she got that. And of course, Trey, who is the stream sponsor. If y'all could do me a favor and type in Trey, T-R-E, right now, that would be fantastic. So I wanted to start us off with those things from Saturday since I was pulling up on two wheels, and go from there. So what are we chatting about today? And this is going to be a brief one because I may pop on here tonight for a late night stream on Diddy. I'm trying to decide if I want to do it tonight or tomorrow because there is news percolating on that one. Today we're talking about Trump, and there is a gag order. I did pull that gag order up one more time because this is in regards to the Stormy Daniels case and what is happening in New York. This case has been ongoing. It has not been live streamed, right? So what does that mean? That means that people like me and other streamers cannot see what's happening in the courtroom. Okay. If it was streamed, we would be able to stream it and watch it with you all, right? We have not been able to see that. So what we're going to do is use the little pieces that we do have. I think it's an interesting concept because when you don't have legal professionals in the room, what do you have? You have media, right? You have media people that are reporting as we go. You have media people that are saying it from their stance. And we know from what we've seen, sometimes you can have biased media companies that are like, okay, I'm on one side of the aisle versus another side of the aisle. And they're going to report it in their way. What I want to do is pull up the gag order, all right? And we're going to look at that together. We're going to look at what they allege that Trump said on Truth Social. And it's also been reported, guys, the Trump's team has removed those things from Truth Social. It's $9,000. So basically, I think it's like $1,000 per tweet or per post on Truth Social. But we spent a lot of time here last week talking about the First Amendment and talking a little bit more about how the First Amendment applies. But what's interesting, and I find super fascinating about this case, whatever side of the aisle you're on, is if we can stop a president from saying something, what does that do for the future of democracy? Buck said sometimes. I say sometimes a lot. It's a sentence filler. So I don't even remember what I said just now. But buckshots, yes. Sometimes I use that as a sentence filler. So don't take me for my word on that, right? But we're going to look at what the gag order says exactly. And then we're going to look at what's being reported. All right. And we're going to go from there. Thanks so much, Buck. I do it all the time. Like, I'm from Boston, so sometimes you'll hear me say, so, or sentence fillers all the time. And then we have some more birthday wishes from James to die. So that's great. This is such a great community, guys. Okay. So we're going to look at this, but I do want to pop in real quick. No to the no is in the chat. Look who's entered the chat. He's popped in. No's like, let me hear my sound.
One
He's
of our
like, let
favorite
me
people
hear
has
it.
entered the chat.
No, thank you so much. He says no to the
It just got
no.
real.
You're awesome, AV. Happy birthday, Lady Di. Look at that. We've even got our high value men in the chat supporting Lady Di and saying happy birthday to her. So that is fantastic. Guys, if y'all could type no in the chat, that would be great. He is the stream sponsor, but I do want to follow up with the Cash Apps. They are now up right now to Trey, who I think you guys, are you tied? You're very close. Trey sent another $50 and said, hey, thanks for making that right. And no, you're right up there with the 200. So thank you both. And Trey, I would love to know what your username is here in the chat so I can mod you and being, for you being a great supporter. But same thing. No, Trey, you guys are kicking us off. And I love that you guys are supporting what we're doing here on this channel because, of course, the algorithm's not going to push it out. It's like you're talking about Trump. You're talking about these topics, AV, not you, right? Like they're telling me, no. They're like, no, AV, don't do it. Don't you do it, AV. But I'm going to do it anyway because I want you guys to see it from a legal perspective and just see everything, because that's the thing. The news is not going to show you this. The news is not going to actually pull in the tabs. They're not going to pull in these documents and show it to the public, right? We know certain people have specific, motives. But, for me to be able to come in and show you guys these, right? To show you the actual documents themselves is what I love to do. I geek out over this sort of thing. But, this is Judge Merchan's original gag order. I hate how light this font is. It is so weird. Doesn't it look like a notebook, guys? Like with the red and, it looks like a little bit of a notebook. Do you guys remember the movie, The Notebook? Anywho, let's start looking at this document and seeing exactly what they say. I like to go to the originals so we can go from there. So we know that this case is all about the 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree, breaking the law in New York, right? Remember what I've been saying, First Amendment and the law in New York, right? This judge in New York put together this gag order against a former president, right? There are laws that you need to follow. There are some things that you need to, every citizen, and some people have been like, hey, he's not above the law, so he should be able to follow the same things that we have to follow, the same type of laws, right? So we know that there were allegations that Trump attempted to conceal an illegal scheme to influence the 2016 election. Specifically, New York claims that Trump directed an attorney, Michael Cohen, who worked for his company, to pay $130,000 to an adult film actress, Stormy Daniels, before the election to prevent her from publicizing an alleged sexual encounter with the defendant. All right. It is further alleged that Trump thereafter reimbursed Cohen, the company attorney, for the payments through a series of checks and caused business records associated with the repayments to be falsified. So they're not saying that Trump did this himself, but he paid Cohen allegedly and caused business records with the repayments to be falsified. Already I have a problem with that, but I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom of this document because we've gone through it before, guys, and it is a motion to grant a gag order. What I want to show you is here. They granted this on March 26th. It's almost been about a month now. Here are the things that they are restricting. This is why I talk about free speech a lot. Here are the things that they are restricting President Trump from saying. And you should also know, and let me just minimize for a second. You should also know that with that, Judge Merchan has a daughter that has been involved with, I think it was Kamala's campaign or Biden's campaign. And that's why Trump and team have been a little bit outspoken about this. And Judge Merchan is like, hey, I'm trying to protect my family. I want to also protect the jurors because we want to make sure that those jury members are not dealing with any issues as far as public scrutiny. And some of them have so far. Some of them have. And I think it was like last week or a week ago, I was checking out Phil Holloway. He had done a piece on just who some of the jurors are and some of the biases that can happen when we select juries. Okay. So some of those things have come up. They absolutely have. Right. So that's one thing there. Well, Let us go back to this document so we can look at it again, because I want to go into the intricacies before we see how people are reporting on this. The document basically says that there are 3 restrictions. Okay, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more. Did that make it a 2-pager? It did. Yeah, it's going to do that. Sorry, guys. I'll make it a 1-page and just read as best as I can for you. So there are 3 things. 1, they want to stop him from directing others to make public statements about known or reasonably foreseeable witnesses concerning their potential participation in the investigation. So that's the first thing. We don't want any witness intimidation. That is the first thing. What is the second thing? They want to make sure that there are no public statements about the attorneys in this case, other than the district attorney. That was interesting to me, because they're basically saying, hey, Trump, you can criticize Alvin Bragg all day. You can criticize Bragg, but you cannot criticize any other attorney. Okay, so what does that mean? That means if Bragg is going to make a political statement, wow, we have a president that's running for president again, we can allow the district attorney to say whatever he wants, but they are allowing Trump to make, commentary or make statements about Bragg, but no other lawyers in this case. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before. It's a high profile case, so okay, let's take that. What else? Members of the court staff and the district attorney staff. Okay, so let's dissect that. That means that you can not make public statements about counsel in the case except for the district attorney. But now you can't talk about the staff that works for the district attorney, and you also can't talk about the staff members that work for the courthouse. Fine. What's the third thing? The third thing, and this is where I do think you land in appeals territory, is the family members of any counsel, staff member, the court, or the district attorney, if is a very important word here, if those statements are made with the intent to materially interfere with or cause to materially interfere with counsel's or staff's work in the criminal case. This is where this gets controversial, because people are like, hey, Judge Merchan, were you trying to protect yourself here? If the case is ongoing and if Trump is talking about your daughter, are you going to be distracted? Now, in the event of like a conflict of interest for attorneys and judges, you do need to recuse yourself from cases like this because it becomes too personal. Do we think that this judge is going to be 100% focused on this case if there are going to be comments made about his daughter and if he's going to feel a certain type of way? That's why this is interesting to watch, because technically, and not even technically, theoretically, we don't want a justice system like that. But can you prevent it? Can you prevent people from talking about things? We saw it with Alex Murdaugh down here in the South. Becky Hill, one of the people that worked on the case, started writing a book, after the case is over. There are some legal rules, ethical rules that allow for such things to happen, but she's not an attorney. You guys have to remember that. She works for the courthouse. So can we stop people from cashing in, but on the same coin, when it comes to political commentary, can we allow people to say what they want to say on an ongoing investigation, an ongoing trial, even if they're defending themselves? Can we allow them to say anything? We've been focusing on the Fani Willis thing down here for weeks. She has been talking about this case all day, all the time. Nobody gags her, even though in that case, the judge in that particular case advised her to stop. He did not order her to stop. What you see here is an actual order of a president to not say certain things. And when you read it legally, it makes sense. due to the safety of everyone. But what I have highlighted here is that if it's going to interfere with the work done in this criminal case, if it's a distraction, that's why I brought up recusal. If it's going to be a distraction, should you be trying it? Can another judge try it? These are reasonable questions to ask, because at the end of the day, whether you're a president, whether you're, someone that lives on the street, whether you're from middle America, if you're from the southern states or from the north, wherever you are, we should all be allowed a fair trial. If you're a celebrity, you're going to bring a lot of publicity. Saw it with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. It's going to happen. If you're not a celebrity, maybe your trial's still streamed. Who knows? But when the public is privy to the day-to-day trials that we don't see every day, do you think people are just going into courthouses and watching the thousands and thousands of trials that happen every day? No, we don't see that. But when there are high-profile cases like this, what are the rules of the road? Judge Merchan seems to think that this is fair. And thanks again, No, I'm going to take you down for a second so we can see the rest of this. The next part of this says, making or directing others to make public statements about any prospective juror or jurors in this criminal proceeding. That part is interesting too, because they're just like, okay, you may not be responsible for making any of these tweets or, posts on Truth Social yourself. Someone on your team is probably doing that. But we're going to talk about the direction to do that. You can't direct them to do that so the jurors feel comfortable. That's what Merchan says here. And this order was signed. I think it was written a day or two earlier, but it was signed on April 1st. Dear viewer, today is April 30th. 29 days later. Trial started about 2 weeks ago. And, it started off very hostile. We went through jury selection. We went through opening statements on both Trump's side, the defense in this case, and we also saw the opening statements from Alvin Bragg's team, the prosecutors in this particular case. We are now still on the point where, at the point where witnesses are on the stand. And what happened in court today? Well, I want to show you how disjointed it is when we cannot have legal minds in the room to commentate or spectate, because a couple things have happened. Today, Trump was hit with a fine of $9,000 for breaking the 3 rules that I just showed to you. They have warned him to not make comments on the case on Truth Social. Comments have been made on the case on Truth Social. They have now been deleted, so I can't even pull them up to show it to you. Now, we're going to go to the New York Times. The New York Times. And I'm just going to refresh because I pulled this before we got on. But I just refreshed, so we now have the latest. We are 8 minutes away from their last report. And they say, lawyer for Stormy Daniels says he believed Trump was behind the hush money talks. Okay. Davidson testified and said the release of the Access Hollywood tape in which Donald Trump described assaulting a woman increased the urgency of talks to buy and bury Ms. Daniels' story as one of the encounters with him. Okay. That's all good. But I want to show you, I'm going to skip ahead. I want to show you this. You see this guy, Michael Gold? Michael Gold is reporting from inside of the courthouse. He works for the New York Times. Oh, this is Jonah, a second one. But look, the New York Times now has 2 people in there. You have things from Jonah's perspective, and you have things from Michael's perspective. Michael Gold is who I saw earlier, right? So you have between both of these 2 people, they are going there, right? You now have a Maggie. Maggie's reporting from inside of the courthouse. You have Jonah. They're telling you everything that's happening. They're trying to repeat quotes, things of the like. Because we're talking about Trump's contempt thing, It looks like that document is now available and ready. Here it is. Let's see if we can blow it up. This is the contempt hearing from today. Let me just make sure the date is correct and what he did and what he said and why he led to his decision. Judge Merchan. Yes, this is dated today. All right, guys, I haven't even seen this yet. Let's go in. Here we go. This is the contempt order from today. It looks like they actually just posted this. So you're hearing it from me first. All right, here's what Merchan says. And let's see if we can we zoom in? Zoom. Yeah, we can zoom. All right, here's today's contempt order. Judge Merchan says, okay, we know that Trump is charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. The charges arise from the allegations that the defendant intended to conceal an alleged scheme and influence the election. We know about the $130. We know about Stormy Daniels, all of those things. I want to take you, the trial started on April 15th. I want to take you here where it says on February 22nd, Bragg filed a motion for an order to restrict statements by Trump, extrajudicial statements. What does that mean? Extrajudicial statements are statements made outside of court. Okay. On March 26th, this court granted the people's motion and issued the gag order. On the 28th, Bragg filed a pre-motion letter seeking clarification on the order as to what it proscribes extrajudicial speech to look like. And this included the family members of the court because of the judge's daughter. Bragg and other individuals mentioned that in the order. April 1st, the court issued an order explaining the restrictions. That's what I just showed you guys, and it showed you the 3 rules. Trump sought an emergency stay of the order, right, which was denied on April 9th, few days before the trial started. On April 15th, the people moved, and this is Bragg, by order to show cause for this court to find the defendant. So this is the thing. The trial started on April 15th. They just told us that. Trial starts on April 15th. And on the same day, day 1 of the trial, they're like, he broke it. He should be in contempt right now. There's things on Truth Social. He broke the 3 rules. He's already doing it. On day 1, the shenanigans. Day 1. It's already there. They're like, we know he's going to break the order. And here's the thing. You're talking about extrajudicial statements, but at the same time, we can't allow cameras in the courthouse. We can't even have cameras in the hallways. You can only have cameras outside. So what does Trump do to keep people informed? He goes outside every day since this trial has started to report on what he thinks is happening at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. That's really, he's trying to comply with it. So how else do you commentate on a case when you have many of them going on? You're confined to a courtroom for 6 weeks. You can't campaign. And again, I'm not taking a side here. Everybody's like, you're a pro-Trumper, AV. You're a pro-Trumper. I want to look at what's fair. If you have a Democratic president running for president 10 years from now, or an independent 20 years from now, are we saying that one state can have a judge and restrict you from doing anything, restrict you from speaking, restrict you from your First Amendment right of free speech? So, and I haven't had a chance to dig into this from last week, but this is also a Supreme Court matter too, because the matter of executive speech is kind of tied to this. If the Supreme Court rules that executive speech comes with certain things and the executive powers fall under the president, there are certain presidents that have said wild stuff over the years, Democrat and Republican. But what can we allow them to say? Right? Especially if they're campaigning. Can you allow them, or can you stop them from saying what they need to in defense of political attacks and in non-defense of political attacks? So anyway, let's see what Judge Merchan says here. So remember that day 1, they were trying to gag him. Okay. The people moved by order to show cause this court to find the defendant in contempt for allegedly willfully violating the expended order on 3 separate occasions. So we have that. Defendant was served with a signed order to show cause that same day. On April 18th, they moved again to gag him. So 3 days later, they moved to gag him again to show cause to find the defendant in criminal contempt for allegedly willfully violating the expanded order on several additional occasions. So now they're saying Trump has done this 9 times. Defendant Trump was served with a second signed order to show cause the same day, and he filed answering papers on the next day, April 19th. A hearing was conducted on the 23rd. So the people brag sees a $1,000 fine for each of the alleged violations pursuant to the rules of the court, right? Judiciary law. The people also ask that this court order the defendant to remove the 8 offending posts from the defendant's Truth Social account and 2 offending posts from his campaign website. Lastly, the people request that this court warn the defendant that his conduct will not be tolerated and remind him that incarceration is an option should it be necessary. All right, this is remember what we're reading. So we're going to read the order again and say what they say here. But they're like, you can't talk about the 3 things that were in the last motion. On this day, you did that. So day 1. And on day 3 of the trial, you added 7 more. So there were 2. And then you added 7 of them. I will tell you guys that the reports are showing that the Trump team has removed those posts. So if they're playing ball, they're taking them down. Each fine is $1,000, but they're like, hey, we're going to charge you for this. And if you don't stop, we're going to arrest you for it. Okay. I mean, hey, Petty, how you doing? Yeah. Audrey says, oh, Lord. Yes. It's starting to get real, but let's continue on to see what the order says. It is so ordered on March 26th. It's amended and as indicated below. Trump is directed to refrain from, these are the 3 rules I just read you guys. So I'm not going to read them again. Right? What do they include? Public statements about witnesses, public statements about attorneys, public statements about the staff, public statements about family members, and directing people to make public statements about jury members. Now, here's where they are posting their exhibits. So they're like, Bragg claims that Trump has violated the order 10 times. Here are the violations. Whenever you see exhibit 1, 2, or 3, that's when they actually have pictures. And let me go back to see if they have these posts on this document. They probably don't. Oh, no, they don't. It is a document from the New York Post. So they, of course, they have their stuff back here, but they don't have those exhibits posted. Usually they do, but it looks like he had violated the order pre-trial 3 times. So April 10th, April 10th, April 13th, right? Those posts were up. They're now down. They filed another contempt order on the 18th. So they were watching him. They did it trial day at 9 o'clock, trial day at 10:26, trial day on the campaign website. Next day, April 16th. So 3 on April 16th, which is the second day of the trial. And then April 10th, April 17th, which is the third day of the trial. So altogether, they're like, hey, you have 10 posts. You need to take them down. What do they say? The 10 posts were, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. The 10 posts consist of posts made by the defendant and a repost of materially previously posted by another source on another website or a social media account, which contain the defendant's words. Reposts are materially, okay, we know what those are, so whatever. Defendant does not dispute that he either posted or reposted the 10 posts in questions. Rather, he advances several defenses to support his claim that his actions do not constitute a willful violation of the order and that he should therefore not be found in criminal contempt. He argues, for example, that reposting another's post does not violate the expended order because the words are not his own, but those are someone else. That he believed reposting was permissible because Bragg and the court did not move to enforce the expanded order after the first repost. That he did not willfully violate the order because the post constitute as protected political speech he made in response to attacks by Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. See, that's the other thing. If somebody's talking about you, you're basically saying, like, here's what the court is saying. Number one, you can't talk about it. I do like Trump's argument about protected speech because that is a matter that is being adjudicated right now in the Supreme Court. What is executive speech and how is that protected? What are the parameters of protected speech and how is that protected, right? What can a president say in this age of social media and what can he not? This is important for any president that we'll have in this country in the future because we live in an age of social media. I told you guys on my law school final exam for constitutional law, what was the final exam about? Trump's political speech, his tweets. I kid you not, that was on my law school final exam. This is a big deal. So you can think that I'm picking a side. Well, I'm actually like really fascinated about this type of law in the future with technology and what we can and cannot say. What can an executive say and what can they not say? Right? So I do like that argument. Doesn't mean I agree with that argument, but I think it's an important concept for us to gauge moving forward in the future, right? Now, the other argument he makes is reposts. I read you guys word for word what those 3 lines say, what those 3 parameters say. He's kind of right here. Those parameters do not say what the rules are for reposts. So, I mean, he has a point. He has a point. I mean, because if you didn't write it, and if you're reposting something, we know that this is a popular thing on Twitter. People will repost this. We see stuff on Instagram, like you could take a post and repost it. If the content comes from someone else and you're reposting it, is it a violation of the order? And people can be like, oh my God, Avi, it is. If you think that reposting is a violation of this order, I'm so curious to see what you guys think. If you think that reposting is a violation of the order, put a 1 in the chat and be honest. Nobody's going to judge you. If you think reposting is not a violation of the order, put a 2 in the chat. No one's going to judge you for that either. But I'm just curious to see that because it seemed like Judge Merchan was trying to protect the jury people in the case. He was trying to protect the attorneys in the case. He was trying to protect family members of people in the case. But it was direct statements coming from Trump. And I'm seeing a lot of 2s right now. I'm seeing a lot of 2s. And you're right, Coach B, that there's loopholes. Eric says no. Eric says like he shouldn't be able to say that. Marie says too. And the old veteran gamer says too, it's part of social media. It is. That's why I think that this topic is so fascinating because how do we use gag orders in this modern age? How do you have a trial that you're keeping everybody out of? No one can see it. No one can judge from themselves. How are we going to be able to move with something like this? Gotta be me says 2. 2. Cody says 2 to the 7th power. I love that. Reposting is, I mean, I'm glad we're talking about this. And even to the people that are like, yeah, reposting is a violation. I'm just curious. Now, so let's go back to this because they're like, hey, you violated the order. Here's how you did it. And even though you're responding to attacks by Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, y'all want to hear something funny? How is it that we can gag the defendant, Trump in this case, but Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels are not gagged? They're not. Call it fair. I mean, shouldn't it be fair on both sides? I don't see them gagged. But I think sometimes we have to think about it in the social media aspect is Trump has a giant following, but he was also a president. So of course he's going to have a giant following, right? What do you do with that? All right, let's look at the conclusion of law and how Judge Mershon is arguing that this is the order and here's how he's standing on his square. He says judiciary law authorizes a court to hold a party in criminal contempt for willful disobedience of the court's lawful mandate, right? This is a case that he's citing here from 2009. This is to protect the dignity of the judicial system and to compel respect for its mandates. Okay. He also cites a 1983 case, another 2016 one. Criminal contempt requires a showing of willfulness on the part of the person that does something wrong, which must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Thus, for a court to make a finding of criminal contempt, the moving party must establish 1, the existence of the order, which they've done here, expressing the unequivocal mandate, and 2, violation of the order. So I guess that's what the prosecution has done here with their exhibits. And 3, it is made with knowledge and is willful. I do have a problem with that third one. It's made with his knowledge and willful. He has mentioned that there are people that he ultimately owns the social media accounts. With knowledge and is willful. Knowledge means you actually know that a post is being made. And willful meaning you want it to be made. Willful, directive. Think about that term, right? But here's the best part. It also says a party may not challenge the order by violating it. Also a 1995 case. Indeed, a party may be held in contempt for violating an order later found to be unlawful. An adjudication of the contempt occurs at a hearing with due process of law, including notice, written charges, assistance of counsel, compulsory process for production of evidence, and an opportunity of the accused to confront the witnesses against him. A hearing was required and was conducted on April 23rd. So there was a hearing to address these Truth Social posts, and that took place on the 23rd. Here's a final decision. The court rejects Trump's arguments and find that Bragg has established the elements of criminal contempt beyond a reasonable doubt. This court's expanded order is lawful and unambiguous. Defendant violated the order by making social media posts about known witnesses. This is where they got him. When he said he was defending himself against Stormy and Michael Cohen, technically, even though they are the reason why we're in court, even though they can attack him, the order says he cannot attack them. That's where they got him here. Okay. Addressing the first, which has been referred to reposts. Are you guys ready? All my 2 people that just talked about the reposts? Exhibits 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This court finds that a repost, whether with or without commentary by the defendant, is in fact a statement of the defendant. We're going to read that again for the cheap seats in the back. Are you ready? Judge Mershon says, a repost, whether or not with or without commentary by the defendant, is in fact a statement of the defendant. If 50 Cent, and I've done this, post a photo of Diddy right now, someone on 50 Cent's team, the social media manager, whatever, probably put together a meme, funny meme of Diddy. They do it every day. They put Diddy's face on all these people. I take that, I say, ha, 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 that's funny. Even if I hand my phone to an assistant and I say, here, do you see this thing by 50 Cent? They're like, ha, 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 it would be funny if you reposted that. This judge just said that if AV reposts what 50 Cent says, that is a statement by AV. Now, I'll argue it on the other side of the coin. Maybe. It comes from my account. I have consent. I have a choice. Even if people work for me, we have a choice on what we post. Keeping free speech in mind, the way that this is worded here is that even though it is a statement made by another party, because I posted it, it's my post. It is now something that I own. I don't know, Hardy. I mean, LM, what do you do? Thank you, but it's not my statement, Jamal. He's saying, Jamal has the Obama last name. Listen, he is saying that if you repost something, it is your statement. Oh my God. Ave Maria. I can't. I can't. Okay, let's keep going. But he says both the Truth Social account and the official campaign website exclusively represent the opinions and views of the defendant. Exclusively, he says. And neither is open forum for others to post their own content. Oh my word. He's saying that it's an open forum because the campaign website doesn't allow other people to post on it, which it's a campaign website. The purpose of a campaign website is to allow people to campaign. And I don't know about Truth Social. I haven't gone in there. If you guys know about Truth Social, you should. I mean, isn't the whole premise of Truth Social to step outside of Twitter and allow other users to post things aside from Trump? Or is Truth Social, I could be wrong, is Truth Social just a platform for Trump to post it alone? I'm going to go back. Yes, Islet, isn't it just because you post another design does now not make it your own? I can't. I can't. You guys let me know about Truth Social, but I'm going to go back to this because it is interesting because they are going to take a quote from Trump's defense team's argument when it comes to this. So he says Truth Social and the official campaign website exclusively represent the opinions and the views of the defendant. Neither is an open forum for others to post their own content. Trump curated the posts at issue. Oh, he did this himself. And then took the necessary steps to publish the posts on his Truth Social account and on his campaign website. I bet you he don't even know how to post on his campaign website. But anywho, in doing so, he endorsed the post with one purpose in mind: to maximize viewership and to communicate his stamp of approval. Indeed, defendant has boasted about the reach of his Truth Social platform when describing its value. He quotes him. He says, more importantly, Truth Social is the primary way I get the word out. And for better or worse, people want to hear what I have to say. Perhaps, according to experts, more than anyone in the world. On Truth, I have 7 million followers. Okay. Did anybody see anything about jurors in that quote? Did anybody see anything about attorneys in that quote? Did anybody see anything about witnesses in that quote? I'm looking for, I don't see it. Do you? But it's quoted in Rashawn's final order. Let's go on. He quotes Trump again and says, when I put out a statement, it is spread all over the place, fast and furious. Everyone seems to get whatever I have to say, and quickly. If it didn't work or properly get the word out, I wouldn't use it. But it does work, and it works really well. It looks like that's another exhibit. Thus, there can be no doubt whatsoever that Trump's intent and purpose when reposting is to communicate to his audience that he endorses and adopts the posted statement as his own. And y'all want me to go to court and practice in front of people. Like, what do you... he uses Exhibit 11, page 1, Exhibit 11, page 2. He uses 2 Trump quotes. The first one is Trump saying, hey, Truth Social, I have reach on there. People want to listen to what I have to say. Truth Social number 2, he says, everybody seems to get what I have to say. And if it doesn't work, I wouldn't use it, but it does work. Those statements don't include anything about jurors, attorneys, family members, those things. But Mershon says, because of those 2 quotes mean that when he reposts something, that means he endorses and adopts it. Okay, it's not funny. It's not funny. He starts to get flippant here too. Like, it's not funny. Okay, it is counterintuitive and indeed absurd to read the expanded order to not prescribe statements that the defendant intentionally selected and published to maximize exposure. This is not to say that a repost will always be deemed a statement of the reposter, as context is directly relevant. However, here, under the unique facts and circumstances of this case, the only credible finding is that the repost constitutes statements of the defendant. Let me read that again. This is not directly to say that a repost will always be deemed a statement of the reposter. Not always. You just said that it was. As context is relevant. Oh my God. However, here, under the unique facts and circumstances of this case, the only credible finding is that the repost constitutes statements of the defendant. The only credible finding. So how, you see how this works? How can you say on one hand, it doesn't always, like if AV posts something that 50 Cent put up, it doesn't always constitute as a direct statement from AV. But in this context, it does. I'm going to continue. Turning to the defendant's post in which he purports to quote Jesse Waters, Exhibit 10. This is not a repost, but rather the defendant's own words. Mr. Waters uttered a statement that the defendant altered, placing in quotes attributed to Mr. Waters and posted. The purpose being to call into question the legitimacy of the jury selection process in this case. This constitutes a clear violation of the expended order and requires no further analysis. Trump next argues that the statements contained in the exhibits were all made in response to political attacks. While the order does permit Trump to respond to political attacks, merely categorizing every one of the defendants' posting as a response to a political attack does not make them so. Although defendant did not produce any exhibits at the hearing, he did refer to 2 postings contained in his opposition papers. They include a post by Michael Cohen on April 9th, wherein he comments on those who support Trump for presidency, and the second post by Michael Cohen on April 10th, referencing Michael Avenatti's likelihood of receiving a pardon from Donald Trump. While it remains unclear whether exhibit is, in fact, a response to those 2 posts, the tenuous correlation is sufficient to give this court pause as to whether the people have met their burden as to this exhibit. However, that cannot be said as to the remaining exhibits 2 through 9, which attack the credibility of arguing 2 or more high-profile witnesses in this case. To allow such attacks upon protected witnesses with blanket assertions that they are all responsive to political attacks would be an exception that swallowed the rule. The expanded order does not contain such exception. At the same time, this court is keenly aware of and protective of Donald Trump's First Amendment rights, particularly given his candidacy for the office of President of the United States. It is critically important that Trump's legitimate free speech rights not be curtailed, and that he be able to fully campaign for office, which he seeks, and that he would be able to respond and defend himself on political attack. For that reason, this court exercised discretion when it crafted the order and delayed issuing it until the eve of the trial. The order is narrowly tailored. These are constitutional law pieces of language here. to prevent risk to the fair administration. He's trying to protect himself. Oh, I picked that up. As soon as he said narrowly tailored, here's what happens. This is probably going to go up on appeal because some of these orders are just, they're regarding First Amendment issues. First Amendment issues automatically could end up in the Supreme Court in like 10 years or so, maybe 5. You better believe he's going to appeal this when this case is done. You better believe that's going to happen. When a judge uses words like narrowly tailored, when they talk about the levels of scrutiny that they're using, those are like Supreme Court terms. Those are constitutional law type of terms, because these are related to constitutional rights. That's why I kept saying free speech, First Amendment, First Amendment. This judge is protecting himself. As soon as I saw the words narrowly tailored, he's trying to narrowly tailor himself to protection for making this ruling. Oh, it's so good. This is interesting. Okay, the order is narrowly tailored to prevent risk to the fair administration of justice, and it's clearly and unambiguously identifies the limited way in which the defendant's speech is restricted. It is of utmost importance that this court, that the expanded order not be used as a sword instead of a shield by potential witnesses. Consideration of such usage will be weighed by this court when ruling on the willfulness of any future claims of alleged violations, as well as determining punishment, if any. In fact, the court may very well consider the propriety of continuing the limitation on extrajudicial speech as it relates to certain individuals. As this court observed in the order, it remains this court's fundamental responsibility to protect the integrity of the criminal process and to control the disruptive influences in the courtroom. The underlying purpose of the restriction on the outside courtroom statements is to protect the integrity of the proceedings by shielding those fearful of people. He's shielding people that are afraid of Trump so that they may take part of these proceedings without concern. However, if a protected party turns that underlying purpose on its head, it becomes apparent that the protected party likely does not need to be protected by the order. Okay, so what about Michael and Stormy? The court is cognizant that Trump has made, through various motions he has filed during the pendency of this case, numerous references to the commentary of Cohen and Stormy Daniels, as indicated above, and will consider such in any future filings. Nonetheless, the court finds that it has not yet necessary to modify the terms of the expanded order to exclude any of the currently protected parties. The court finds Trump in criminal contempt for willfully disobeying a lawful mandate of this court in violation of Judiciary Law Section 753 on 9 separate occasions. Do you know what he just said there? He said, okay, Trump, we know you're saying that Cohen and Stormy are still making statements. And, our order is actually designed to protect them. But he says that it's not yet necessary to modify the terms to remove their protection, because you keep bringing that up in your documents. This is actually kind of is a little unfair, guys. They just showed it. They just showed it on the document that Cohen had put out 2 things 2 days before the trial. I showed you guys that Stormy has a documentary out. She premiered it a few days before the trial. So if these guys are witnesses and can say whatever they want, but like, I get it, because you're like, okay, people are afraid of Trump. The jurors are afraid of Trump. They don't want all these attacks. They don't want this stuff to happen to them. But why is it that Stormy and Michael Cohen, although they are witnesses, they can just run around and say whatever they want? So I don't understand. I don't understand, New York. Punishment and order. Criminal contempt is punishable by a fine not exceeding $1,000, by jail not exceeding 30 days, or by both in the discretion of court. for each violation of the order. So he found 9 violations, so he ordered Trump to pay $9,000. Okay. It also goes on to say that they do this to protect the dignity of the judicial system and compel the respect of other mandates. He cites those laws again. However, judiciary law does not want to vest the court with the authority to craft an appropriate punishment when a $1,000 fine will not achieve that purpose. While $1,000 may suffice in most instances to protect the judicial system, to compel respect for its mandates, and to punish the offender for disobeying the court order, it will unfortunately not achieve the desired results in those instances where the person in contempt can easily afford such a fine. I was just thinking that, like, Trump will he will sneeze $9,000. In those circumstances, it would be preferable if the court could impose a fine more. Oh my God, look at this. He says it would be, in those circumstances, it would be preferable if the court could impose a fine more in line with the wealth of the person in contempt. In some cases, that might be a $2,500 fine. In other cases, that fine should be $150,000. They need to appeal this immediately. Oh my God. He just said that. This judge literally just said $1,000 it might work in some cases, and maybe $250 or $2,500. But somebody like this person, somebody like Trump, needs to pay $150,000 every time they break a rule. He said, because this court is not cloaked with such discretion, it must therefore consider whether in some instances jail may be a necessary punishment. This is such a clown show. Therefore, defendant is hereby warned that the court will not tolerate continued willful violations of its orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment. And it is hereby ordered that the defendant pay $1,000 fine for each one of the 9 violations of this court's order by the close of business this Friday, May 3rd. And it is further ordered that the defendant remove the 7 offending posts from the defendant's Truth Social account and the 2 offending posts from his campaign website by 2:15 p.m. Tuesday, April 3rd. What is it? We're Eastern Standard Time. It is 5:56. I could tell you guys those posts came down. Judge Mershon. Wow. Oh, what do y'all think? I have my thoughts. But what do you guys think? He's now wanting to charge him $150,000 for every Truth Social post. He cannot talk about Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels. I get that. I get the juror safety. I get that too. This is such a big free speech shit show. I mean, it is. It is such a free speech shit show. I'm going to read a few super chats. And you know what? I did not change the banner to include Trey. Thank you so much. You were at 175. Thank you so much for coming back. And I apologize for that error last week. Thank you so much. I'm going to give this to Nono as a stream sponsor. And just go from there. But these judges are bold in these legal documents. If this goes up to the Supreme Court and it's not even defiance, because he is hiding behind some law here. And he is doing the comparison. That's what I try to do with you guys. I try to argue it from both sides. Let's teach us how to do in law school. Judges even more. But sometimes judges can go really, really deep with the power that they have. And they try to protect themselves on appeal. I saw it coming. As soon as I saw the words narrowly tailored, I'm like, oh, dude, you're going there. You are going there. Shout out to Charlie with the $2. He says, keep smiling. You smile beautifully. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like the smile, Charlie. And we will get to that email or the comment at some point. Sorry, it's taking us a little bit longer for that. So thank you so much. And I appreciate the super. Shout out to Dayanara, one of my faves, who says, I would have nothing but contempt for this kangaroo court. I mean, 2024 is practically almost halfway done. And some of the things that we've seen in courts so far, we saw all the shenanigans at the Fannie Willis thing is still continuing. Oh, and I have something for you, Dayanara. We hear that we could be hearing back on the Fannie thing on the appeals court. They should be issuing something this week. So I'm really thrilled about that, guys. Once we get it, we will be here commentating on that one. Shout out to Marie, one of my faves. She says, I'm a pro-Trumper. She has no shame about it. She's like, I'm here. I bought the sneakers. I'm wearing them. Like, when did they come out? I think he was selling them on pre-order. So I wonder if they are out yet. Thank you so much, Marie. One of my number one supporters has been with me from the very beginning. We chat from now and again, and she's always so supportive in so many ways. Like sometimes it's hard for me to show back up here when, you know, there's lower viewership or something happens, or if I'm going through stuff in life. But Marie is one of those people where I so appreciate her support in more ways than none. So thank you so much, Marie. I really appreciate your super. Shout out to, I know a guy who says, what if I repost an article about something I totally disagree with, something I hate? Is it my statement? I have the same question. That's what this judge is saying. He is saying, and that's why I used the comparison of if 50 posted something about Diddy, and sometimes he's done this, guys. I'll use this example. Check this out. I know a guy. My family, guys, some of y'all may know this, some of you don't. My family is from the islands of Cape Verde, west coast of Africa. Nobody knows they exist. Right? West coast of Africa, we're African and Portuguese. Okay. Nobody knows about these islands unless you're from New England or Cali. Other than that, people are like, where the hell's that? People are like, you're Canadian? I'm like, no, I'm Cape Verdean. You're Cambodian? No. I'm Cape Verdean. You know, like they say things like that all the time. It's amazing. I love explaining where my family's from. When the Diddy raid happened, 50 Cent posted fake news. He posted an article that was false. And the article mentioned that Diddy was fleeing the country. He was on a private jet and headed to Cape Verde. Check this out. My dad lives on those islands right now, and we have government ties. You know, I'll just be honest with you guys. The last president was, it's my dad's cousin. So we know who's coming in and who's going out. So when I saw that post, I literally called Dad and I was like, Dad, is Diddy there? Can you hide our family members? Can you hide everybody in the community? Can you hide everybody from Diddy? And my dad's like, he's not here. Like, we would know. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go back to the post. 50 Cent had it up. Now me, if I'm a person that reposted it, and if that was a fake news article, if somebody posted fake news, what this judge is saying is, hey, if you repost something, it means you're endorsing it. And it means you're co-signing what this person is saying. Whether you as a private person or even a public figure had time to fact check it or not. So I know a guy. This is an excellent question. And think about the example I just gave you. I fact checked it because, you know, I also have a PR and legal background. I checked it to make sure. But like, if I didn't check it and if I left it out there, this judge is basically saying what I put out is my statement. I miss my buzzer. Shout out to Audrey, who says, great to heart ya. Been on vacay. Great to hear ya. Yes, you know, I've been gone for a little bit, and you've been gone for a little bit, Audrey. I haven't seen you in a little while. If you went on vacation, I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much, Audrey. Number one. Also, another good supporter that's been around for a while. Intricate part of the community. I love her. Anytime I'm on lead side, she is supporting me too. So she's a big supporter of both of us. Really happy that you're here, Audrey. And if you had a vacation, I hope you had a good one. And then going back to Charlie, who says, All evildoers should face Chares. I'm probably saying that right. Sorry, chat. Anywho, guys. Let's putting up the Cape Verdean flag. We had to hide the whole familia, stick everybody in the closet. If Diddy's on the island, hide everybody. Hide everybody. And then shout out to Captain Teach, who says 50 Cent is not on trial. Diddy would be. Wouldn't he? Wouldn't he? Oh my God. LM says AV is a Fed. Still love. I mean, I'm not, but I can get information in Cape Verde if I ever needed it. The old veteran gamer says they tried this BS during COVID-19. LM said it doesn't matter if you're on trial or not. A repost isn't your speech. I agree. Pete Morton says it wasn't a repost. Which one? Trump stuff or Diddy stuff? All right, guys, I'm getting ready to wrap up. I'm just going to see if we have anything in the Cash App queue. I don't see anything yet, but I feel like I've captured them all. What we will do, let me let you know about what the content calendar looks like. I might be back tonight because we do have some stuff on Diddy, and it may involve the Kardashians. The plot thickens.
Crazy.
It might involve the Kardashians. It might. So we will check that out. What I do have is Diddy's first response to a lawsuit that was filed over the past few months. So I do have that brief to go over with you guys, and we could check it out from there. I'm debating on whether I need to do it tonight or tomorrow. We have some more content coming on the Fani Willis debacle. I told you guys about that lawmaker that was suing her. There was a statement made today by that lawmaker and what that case looks like over the next few months. I went down a rabbit hole yesterday and looked at some old things and the jail audio clips and all of that. My editor is working hard on that right now. Some of you guys wanted me to cover the case that's happening up here in Massachusetts. There's this woman, I think they're calling it the cop killer case. I'm debating because it is trial streaming. It is trial streaming. So I'm debating on whether I should do that every day and just show you guys the streams. You guys could pop in throughout the day and I'll just stream it. You know, we can go from there. Karen Reed versus the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That incident took place in a town I used to live in called Canton. So it's near and dear to me. We can do it if y'all want, but that is one thing. I'm in touch with Legal Vices. We will bring him in to talk about the OJ trial a little bit. OJ has passed, but one of the things that have come up was I think Legal Vices is going to actually meet OJ and have OJ on the channel. So I'm going to bring him on in a little bit to talk about that. And of course, Nate, the lawyer, I am in the process of scheduling with him to bring him on. So we've got a bunch of content coming out in the next few days. So that's why I keep stressing to you all to make sure that your notifications are on and that you're locked in so you know what's going on. But I will either be back with Diddy tonight or tomorrow morning, and we will go from there. But listen, it was great to see you guys, right? Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.